Welcome to the grand finale of the Romeo and Juliet viewing extravaganza. Just like last time, we are here to discuss the best performances for each role and then list up the movies in order from worst to best. I'm Cassius.
I'm Sharky.
And welcome to the wrap-up episode of the Romeo and Juliet series.
Unlike last year's set, we are going straight to the character portrayals.
But, like last time, we'll start with the minor characters and move on up to the big names. Let's start with Prince Aeschylus.
My pick for Prince Aeschylus is Von D. Curtis Hall from the 1996 production. He's a bit of a badass, and his no-nonsense demeanor towards the feud works very well for the character.
I like him, but sadly I can't pick him due to the failed technicalities of moving his role to a modern setting. My pick is Robert Stevens of the 1968 Franco Zeffirelli. Of all the princes, he balances gravitas and emotional involvement the best. Though, shout out to the prince from the 1982 who managed to be the only not terrible thing about that awful, awful experience. Now, on to the other guy in Juliet's life, Paris.
My pick for Paris is Roberto Bisaccio from the Franco Zeffirelli movie. The script cut prevents the character he plays from overstaying his welcome, and he does well enough with what he's given. Seriously, it's difficult to mess up your performance when you barely have any screen time.
My pick for Paris is Paul Rudd from the Baz Luhrmann adaptation. He's just too cute and he doesn't make the character suck as a person. He is someone who wants to follow marriage protocol, but he's actually kind of a sweet suitor. Despite not getting a death scene, he wins as a great Paris for me. Now let's hit up the Capulets. First up, Lady Capulet.
My pick for Lady Capulet is Natasha Perry from the Franco Zeffirelli production. She at least brings some subtle emotional range to the role other than just disapproving mother.
My pick for Lady Capulet is Violet Kemble Cooper of the George Cukor 1936 adaptation. She manages to be straight-laced but always invested, and it doesn't hurt that she classes up and improves every scene that she's in. Now, Lord Capulet.
My pick for Lord Capulet is Paul Hardwick from the Franco Zeffirelli version. Unlike some other Lord Capulet portrayals, he actually understands the difference between screaming and acting.
I'm giving this one to the proto-Robert Baratheon-style antics of Sebastian Cabot from the Renato Castellani 1954 movie. He had a believable bluster to him that could easily range from fun to paternal to dangerous. Now for team trying to be helpful, the Friar and the Nurse. Let's start off with the Friar.
My pick for Friar is Milo O'Shea from the Franco Zeffirelli. He portrayed the Friar as someone who was trying to make things better but managed to color this with reservations, knowing the risks of the plan.
I'm going to go with Pete Postlethwaite from the 1996 Baz Luhrmann movie, the only performance of the Friar that transcended the immense dullness I felt subjected to for the first 6 movies. For some reason, snapping him out of that traditional standard role rendered him amazing and not only made him come alive, it made me pay attention. Also, Pete Postlethwaite just rocks. Now, the Nurse.
My pick is Pat Haywood from the Franco Zeffirelli production. She was fun and believably maternal towards Juliet.
This was definitely the hardest role for me to pick, as all 7 of the performances here were pretty solid. However, I'm going to go with Edna May Oliver from the 1936 George Cukor movie, the nurse who, in my opinion, best balanced the bawdy, silly, humorous, maternal, and emotional instincts of the role. The next set is the boys, Benvolio, Tybalt, and Mercutio. Let's start with the boy who lives, Benvolio.
My pick for Benvolio is Bruce Robinson from the 1968 version. He plays a great bro to Mercutio, and let's face it, maintaining acting presence must be damn tough while your director is sexually harassing you.
If film and television are to be believed, for women it's often the only time they do maintain acting presence. Ahem, Black Swan, Smash, etc. At any rate, I am in full agreement about Benvolio here. This Benvolio has a pitch-perfect presence, helps the audience engage through his spectator role, and he's likable as all hell and brings us in, making Bruce Robinson the first actor that we have agreed so far about. And now for Tybalt.
My pick is Michael York from the Franco Zeffirelli version. He isn't just a generic angry all the time character, and he is shown as willing to die for Mercutio's death, but not completely suicidal, satisfying Romeo's need for a fair revenge. The 1978 performance by Alan Rickman, while a far second place, is still worth a mention.
I agree here again about everything but Alan Rickman, who I did not love. Michael York is a much more interesting Tybalt than any of the others. He never gets into cartoon villainy, which is surprisingly easy to do, Basil Rathbone from the 1936. Michael York also has a masterful way of speaking Shakespeare that just sounds so natural and helps build up his presence as a smooth, intelligent Tybalt. And now for Mercutio.
My pick is John McHenry from the Franco Zeffirelli version. One of the very few Mercutios to make you care thanks to the fine acting and fantastic cutting. Anthony Andrews from the 1978 production is an honorable mention.
I too pick John McHenry. He absolutely destroyed the role of Mercutio for me. I cannot imagine anybody else outdoing this performance in any medium. It was that good. Great performances from Harold Perrineau in the 1996 Baz Luhrmann and Anthony Andrews in the 1978 Alan Rakoff notwithstanding. John McHenry has this wrapped up. The choices, the performance, the way his character owns the space are absolutely mind-blowing, show insane understanding of Shakespeare, and make me a very happy camper. His amazingly solid way of speaking this verse doesn't hurt either. If I saw John McHenry on the street today, I would demand an encore of the Queen Mab speech. I love this performance and cannot overstate my love of it. He wins. And now we are up to the title characters. Ladies first, Juliet.
My pick is Claire Danes from the 1996 version. She manages to express emotions beyond madly in love and in anguish, helping to keep up plot dynamism as opposed to plot inevitability. Olivia Hussey from the Franco Zeffirelli is a close second.
My pick is Olivia Hussey from the 1968 Franco Zeffirelli. While Claire Danes gives a great performance in the Baz Luhrmann film, the 1996 falls down on the overall choices for Juliet far more than the Zeffirelli does, and Hussey's slight verse deficits are more than made up for with her emotionally compelling presence. Susan Chantal from the 1958 Renato Castellani version makes a case for herself, but Olivia Hussey zones in better for the win. And now, Romeo.
My pick is Leonard Whiting from the Franco Zeffirelli production. He's honestly the only convincing Romeo in this set.
I'd make fun of you for that simple explanation, but it is true. Leonard Whiting largely wins this because everyone else is either awful or wrong for the part, and Leonard Whiting is neither wrong nor awful. However, he does go far beyond that to approach true greatness and really clinch this one, beyond even the highly verse proficient Christopher Neame from the 1976 Joan Kemp-Welch performance, which is my second place pick. Leonard Whiting is likable, youthful, and fun as well as emotionally involving, making him a hero you actually want to follow for an entire plotline.
And with the character selections out of the way, let's count down the movies from worst to best. Well, really, it's 6 most tolerable, then the best one. You probably already figured out which the best one was. And the worst. But the middle 5, that's a thing. Moving on.
My least favorite movie, no surprise here hopefully, is the 1982 William Woodman production. Overacting Romeo, who's channeling Shatner badly doing Hamlet. Underacting Juliet, who's channeling a corpse. General badness so pronounced, I noticed how good The Prince was. A set that clearly shows a lack of any screen budget or thought. It's just a total disaster.
The 1982 adaptation is just plain terrible. Despite Esther Rawls' valiant effort as the nurse, this is one of the most painful adaptations of anything, ever.
Number 6 on my list is the 1936 George Cukor movie. Neither Romeo nor Juliet are good, which is a pretty severe handicap. Romeo is too old, too composed and too mature. Juliet looks high, and neither of them sound very natural. Mercutio, Tybalt, Benvolio are also mediocre and not that engaging. A few good, very minor supporting characters can't save this one from being sheer drudgery. Skip it.
The 1936 adaptation occupies my 6th spot as well. The script cut and character choices remove all reasons to care about any of the characters, and Juliet does seem to be high on opium all of the time.
My 5th Romeo and Juliet is the 1978 Alvin Rakoff BBC Complete Works production. The only other movie on this list, besides the two just covered, that have two bad central performances, it had to fall to this 5 spot. Romeo is inept and Juliet dull, and the rest of it is unfocused. Despite a solid Mercutio effort here and slightly more age-appropriate leads, which raise it just above the 1936, I'm not that invested.
My number 5 pick is the 1954 Renato Castellani. Susan Shental, who had never acted before or since her turn here as Juliet, gives a compelling performance. But the rest of the found-on-the-street actors do not, and it's really obvious when they're dubbed over. Their Romeo might be a competent actor elsewhere, but their decision to interpret the role as a borderline serial killer did not work as well as they thought it would.
4th on my list is Renato Castellani's 1954 production. I place it slightly higher than Sharky does due to Juliet being a good performance and a few other interesting portrayals, which make it at least an interesting watch. The speech is stilted and often unskilled, but the look and presence of it was actually kind of watchable.
My pick for number 4 is the 1976. A rather interesting failure which keeps in a lot of the text, yet still fails to make me care about most of these people. At just over 3 hours, this had the excitement factor of watching paint dry.
My 3rd place pick is the 1976 Joan Kemp-Welch production, which grew on me as I kept thinking about it. Christopher Neam's Romeo is actually very good, and I really do enjoy the retained text and the many good supporting performances. It is unfortunate that Juliet wasn't nearly as good as Romeo in this one, but this is worth seeing as a near-complete version that sounds great with more polished text work than any other film in this set.
Bronze goes to the 1996 Baz Luhrmann adaptation. Don't get me wrong, it looks fantastic. But the fact that Baz looks like he really wants to make a music video hurts the narrative flow. He could have made this a silent movie and kept the visuals, and it likely would have worked out well, but unfortunately he treats the text like a necessary nuisance more than anything.
For my number 2 pick, I'm going to disagree with Sharky and say that the Baz Luhrmann 1996 movie is good enough to be all the way up here at number 2. I find the movie incredibly absorbing in a kind of perverse way. It's not Shakespeare, but it's fun, and when Baz Luhrmann gets things right by accident, like Mercutio and Friar Lawrence, he can in fact really get them right and show us something that is worth seeing. The fact that he made a movie instead of a play that happens to have a camera pointed at it does get it major competitive points against the other movies, and the fact that it is engaging and interesting and actually has a good Juliet performance too, by the way, does even more. It's mostly very wrong and offers a lot to hate, including a lackluster Romeo performance by Leonardo DiCaprio and more hysterical screaming than you could possibly want in any Shakespeare performance, but the loudness and tumult of this movie, if you're okay with Baz Luhrmann and know that you already like him, might make it recommendation worthy.
My 2nd place pick is the 1978 Alvin Rakoff. It's the most tolerable without being recommendable. If anything, watch this to see Alan Rickman in the monkey's hairdo play Tybalt.
And now, the favorite. The 1968 Franco Zeffirelli. It's the only movie on this list to have 2 good lead performances, which is kind of key, and no real mistakes. Also, John McHenry and Michael York dominate the proceedings in their roles of Mercutio and Tybalt in shockingly awesome ways. It's one of the better adaptations of Shakespeare out there, and I only wish it had better competition so that its win would really mean something. But as it stands, it is awesome.
This adaptation definitely wins the top spot and is the only one that I would consider good. Fine acting all around, a script cut that leaves in only the events that need to be there, and arranged in a way to make us care about everyone. Minus the aforementioned sexual harassment issues and 12 frames worth of pandering to the pedophile demographic, this is a fine way to adapt Romeo and Juliet.
And now we ring the curtain down on our Romeo and Juliet retrospective. We hope it provoked some good thinking about William Shakespeare's tragedy of young love. I know that I am a bit more of a fan of the play than I was at the start, I'll admit that. Till next time here on Pursued by a Bear. This has been Cassius.
And this has been Sharky.
I'm no whacking, and be sure to wear the proper headgear before watching Shakespearean movies. Good night, everybody.
This has been Macbeth's Lady.
And this has been Anne.
Till next time, farewell.
Quality filmmaking, right there.
Hey guys, sorry I'm late again. I'm just gonna do it again. Ah!
I regret that.
Hey guys, no hacking here. Yes. Why did I do this? What even is this? Hey guys, no hacking here. Yes. I did it again. Ah.
I am Macbeth's Lady.
Goodbye. Goodbye. I'm no hacking, and remember to wear protective goggles while wearing Shakespearean plays. Did I really just say that? Did I really just say that?
I'm gonna go celebrate women in Shakespeare. Girls 1, boys 0. Nope. That's not how you exit the ladder. Ah.
Just maybe I should stop making videos 8 feet off the ground. Ah, okay. Well, that was only my right arm instead of my entire lower body. Like last time.
However, to be fair, he does. Oh my god, are you serious? Get out of my face.
My favorite Lady Capulet out of this set is... What is your name?